So, I heard you're looking for a go-to source for entertainment.
Wait for it.
Gaming?
Wait for it.
Anime?
Plus Ultra!
Mr. Eric Almighty and Phil the Filipino? Yeah, they've got you covered. And all you gotta do is... wait for it. This is the Wait For It podcast.
Hey everyone, welcome back to the Wait For It podcast. I am your co-host, Phil Smith, aka Phil the Filipino. And joining me as always is your other co-host, Mr. Eric Almighty. That's him, there he is. And folks, welcome to the July edition of the Game Room Where It Happens. Now, last month with the Game Room, we jumped out of our comfort zone and into a genre of gaming that we aren't typically used to and don't really seek out. And, you know, one of us had a good time, and while it wasn't necessarily for me, it was something that I'm glad I jumped into because, again, it was garnering a lot of interest at the time and a lot of positive feedback, and I could definitely see why. This month's episode is an episode, if you are not a patron, I mentioned, this is like minimum 3 to 4 years in the making, maybe even more, because today, as you can see in the title, we are talking about Sea of Thieves, developed by Rare, who is an iconic developer. And Eric, with how much we love the Pirates of the Caribbean series, and of course you being the big One Piece fan now, as seen there in your room and on your t-shirt, pirates, what could possibly go wrong? An open world pirate game that is now 6 years into development and has totally turned around its reputation. A full squad of teammates that can manage a boat. What could possibly go wrong? Everything can go wrong and did go wrong when we played Sea of Thieves. On a combination of things, a PC, Xbox, PS5, we had all three things covered. So I don't want, after this happens, I don't want to hear people being like, you should have played on Xbox, you should have played on PlayStation, you should have played on PC. We tried all three. Everything was represented. So Eric, we'll see how this goes. If the Sea of Thieves community comes for us, because I know they're very passionate, and they should be. You know, I totally get it. But we'll see how this goes, because Sea of Thieves 2024 was an experience that we probably don't want to remember once this episode has come and gone.
Yeah, Phil, 3 to 4 years in the making, possibly more, because this game came out in 2018, which is, I believe, the year we actually started the podcast, very casually. Do not want to go back to those days. But I even remember us talking about the launch of this game. And this is very reminiscent of us finding time to play a game that we wanted to try out that had a rough launch. Think of Fallout 76, an episode we recently did. We did this year, and we talked about how much fun it was getting into it and that we were glad to see it thriving. Phil, I think we're glad to see this game thriving, but unlike most of our episodes where at least one of us really enjoyed it, I hate to say it, but we're going to probably be bitching about Sea of Thieves for a solid 20 minutes and then call it a night. So if that's not your type of content, again, I mentioned Fallout 76. There are a ton of other episodes that we talked about. Even Another Crab's Treasure. We talked quite positively overall about that small developer and how that game came to be. Check out our catalog for sure. But again, this is going to be an interesting one because, you know, we'll talk positives, but unfortunately most of this is going to be some of our frustrating conversation. And Phil, we've only very casually, silently agreed on them. I don't think we've actually voiced them out. So that's why I use the word bitching, because I think it's going to probably turn into that a little bit, because we're going to finally get to voice what we've been thinking internally as we shut off our game and said, do I really have to play this again?
Yeah, it was an experience. So like Eric said, you know, if you want to hear us talk maybe positively about something, Ghost Recon Wildlands, Helldivers 2, obviously earlier in the year, Pal World, all these games had, you know, we played them together as a cooperative unit with not even just you and I, but also our friends. And then again, pivoting into this, we were like, man, what a time. We have all of our friends being able to jump into this with us, and boy, did it not turn out the way that we wanted. If you're a brand new listener to this podcast, welcome in. Or if you are a returning listener and you need a little bit of a refresher as to where to find all the rest of our content, make sure you stick around till the end of the episode. We'll let you know where you can find all the rest of all the most important links to keep up with the more positive side of the Wait For It podcast. Either way, if you decide to stick around and or leave, I promise you're going to have a good time. So we appreciate y'all. But let's just jump into Sea of Thieves and talk about what this game is about, where it came from, where it is now, and obviously our experience with it. From acclaimed developer Rare comes a shared world adventure game that offers the ultimate pirate experience, set in a rich world of exotic islands, hidden treasures, and dangers, both natural and supernatural. Sea of Thieves has everything you need to live the pirate life and is unlike anything you've played before. That's for damn sure. It's certainly not like anything we've played before. So, Sea of Thieves, as Eric mentioned, came out in 2018 to pretty negative reviews, and a lot of that had to do with very similar. A lot of this conversation, Eric, is going to be a lot like Fallout 76, right? A game that came out with not enough content, with a really bad end game, and just a lack of things to do, and word of mouth was getting around that it was pretty boring. And we have to commend what Rare has done in this 6-year time frame, because between then and between now, it's not only got more content than we can even list. There's no way we could talk about everything that you are able to now do. They're continuing to pour support into this game because people still enjoy playing it. Like, what a concept, right? There's never been a sniff of a Sea of Thieves 2 or something like that, some kind of spin-off. And while there are microtransactions in this game, you can play it totally free for the most part, except for Jordan, who spent $40 on the game to play it on PS5. She could have got it on Game Pass, which, Eric, at least as of right now, is the best deal in gaming. We'll see what happens in the future, Xbox. But it's a game that you can play relatively easily, and now with it being on PlayStation 5, it's available to more people than ever. And Eric, when it comes to the things that we love, cooperative gaming and pirates, it seemed like a match made in heaven. And obviously one of the biggest things we talked about when it came to Fallout 76 was the community. The community for Fallout 76 is so gracious and so nice and so welcoming. And the Sea of Thieves, when in Community, the Community GIF where Donald Glover walks in with the pizzas and everything is just going to shit. That's what Sea of Thieves is on a nightly basis. And something as simple as trying to dig up treasure is the most infuriating and frustrating thing that I have done on any video game in months. So I'll just start there, Eric, because the community in this, not very welcoming whatsoever, as you can recap our first hour of gameplay in Sea of Thieves if you want.
Yeah, I'll do that, because I feel like some context is needed. It should be noted that this game coming to PlayStation this year, which is Rare's first, I believe, this is something that became like one of the most downloaded games that month that it came out. I think that was around like May. So, I mean, definitely still appealing and giving off interest to potential new gamers. As a new gamer coming into this film, it didn't feel very smooth, I'll say, to kind of get things started. I think the game assumes maybe you can figure some of it out and you know what you're doing. I don't need a tutorial. In fact, we're going to play a new game, and I was told a tutorial was there, and in typical fashion, I have not done said tutorial. I don't like doing them, which you would think is counterproductive to the feedback I'm giving here, because while this game doesn't necessarily need a tutorial, I felt like it wasn't so simple to jump into. And that was very present from the first island that we went to. We go to this island, and we have a map. We're not exactly sure how to dig up this treasure. It doesn't feel very simplistic in that way. Just X marks the spot, dig, get your treasure. So we're figuring this all out. And all I hear is, why is our ship on fire? And we all collectively turn from the island to see our ship sinking on our first island, first get-go. Now I understand what you're going to say. Should we have gone to a private party? We'll talk about that experience, because that was a whole nother thing. but we wanted to really give it a shot. And later on, Phil, one of many ship sinkings, and I understand it's a pirate game. Like, I get that, right? One of the people asked us post-ship if we're new to the game. And we only heard that because our friend Jordan went to game chat to tell them that, because she was so frustrated. She was like, guys, we're new. We don't know what we're doing. They did offer to help after the fact, but it was a little bit too little too late. So there's just a little bit of context on where that comment stems from regarding the community. It definitely, the interactions we have had have not been very positive, but that's understandable to a point because it is a pirate game. And like, I understand that, but that's not really very fun if the game doesn't make it fun. And I don't know, Phil. I mean, we gave it a couple goes. For context, we played maybe 5 or 6 different nights. One night we were streaming on Twitch and did that. So to Phil's point about talking about PC, I was exclusively on the Xbox. But yeah, Phil has pretty much been on every console with this each time, and it's been the same experience. So all that to say, this game, I think, has such appeal to people, and maybe there's an audience out there for that, for this game still. For me, I'm just not that audience, and I don't think you are either.
Right, and I know I can already read the comments. People are going to talk about it's PvE, it's PvP, and yes, that's totally fine. And the thing, I think, we're going to reference Fallout 76 a lot in this because it's fresh in our minds, and it's the only thing we really have comparative-wise when it comes to the same type of environment and game. There is a passive mode in Fallout 76, so I don't know if that's something that they would ever think about implementing. I mean, 6 years in, probably not. And again, that's totally fine. Like, we jumped into this as optimistic and excited as you possibly could be because we had been wanting to play this for so long. And just so you know, Eric, there is a tutorial. We have just done it already. Remember, because we thought about playing this like 2 years ago. So, like, I freshened up in the tutorial, but again, it's nothing, like, crazy. But the fact that, like, we went to... The first night we played, the 4 of us. It was you, me, Jordan, and my sister. And we were just, like, at port buying clothes. And someone attacked us. We weren't even, like, on the ocean. Like, I get when you're out on the water, I think that's free game. Sure, totally get it. You have to fight back. You have to learn. But, like, I'm just buying, like... a hook for a hand. And all of a sudden, our screens went red.
Wasn't that the first time we went to the ferryman? Because we were wondering.
I think so.
We were wondering why we ended up on a ghost ship. So it was very early on into the game. Yeah, no, totally get that.
So we're just literally just buying clothes and like, oh yeah, I want to make my pirate look cool, or how much is it to be Jack Sparrow and all that crap. And one guy 1v4'd us and just annihilated us because he knew how to play the game. And continued to, like, torment us, I think, throughout the entire server. So that's not fun. And if I think if your community is going to be gatekeepy, then no one's going to play your game. You know what I mean? And maybe now, and well, I don't even want to say maybe, because it is very successful. And again, we're just not the audience for this. Like and Eric talked about playing it on stream. By the, like... the 5th time trying to turn our stupid ship around, I wanted to end the stream. I was like, I'm so over this. I don't want to do it anymore. Then I got stuck in between a fence and a tree, and I was like, I just want to fucking end this right now. I'm so over it. And there's going to be bugs in an open world game. That's just going to happen. But coupled with all the other things that were going so poorly, I was like, I don't want to do this anymore. And Eric had to, like, basically coerce me into playing it for at least one more hour, which, like Eric alluded to, we switched to a private server, which is, you get less rewards, but you're like, that's totally fine. Let's get our bearings, pun intended. Let's figure out what to do in this game. Just play the 4 of us with no one else around and see how it goes. And it was an equally disastrous experience. Like, how did that even happen? We ended up on, like, some island that was, like, full of volcanoes, and we were just getting destroyed. Again, couldn't find the stupid treasure, just like on our first night when we were, when our boat was sunk by randoms. Couldn't find the damn treasure, and, couple that with the previous 5 hours that we had tried to dive into this, it was just awful. And, Eric, I think for us and for our friends that we play with, because we're very fortunate that we get to say, hey, we want to play this game. Will you play it with us? Like, we have friends that will do that with us. It's an incredible, like, perk that we had that not a lot of other people have. We can tell within the first like hour or so, is this an experience that I'm going to enjoy? Like, you're not necessarily enjoying Valorant. I like Valorant, and Jordan likes Valorant, but you'll still hop on and play with us. None of us are going to suggest, hey, let's jump into Sea of Thieves. Well, you alluded to playing a new game tonight after we're done recording. We're playing Crime Boss Rocket City, which I'm actually probably going to talk about and sprinkle in here and there, since so I don't have to talk about Sea of Thieves. But it does star Chuck Norris, Danny Trejo, Danny Glover, Michael Rooker, Kim Basinger, Vanilla Ice, Michael Madsen, and Damien.
I did not know that.
That was part of. It's part of the story mode, which is terrible, which we're not going to play. But I just want to point out that Crime Boss Rocket City came out in March of 2023 and got terrible reviews. It has also been updated, and it's now a lot of fun, and people are comparing it to a more fun Payday. So I just wanted to point that out so I could talk less about Sea of Thieves in this episode. But to go back to Sea of Thieves, those were the combinations of things that we're sitting here now. We're like, boy, what a disaster, and I don't ever want to do that again.
Yeah, I think we said we'd sprinkle in some positive things, and I'm struggling.
The water's pretty.
The water is pretty. Phil will tell you that I was constantly
spent like an hour just sitting at the front of the boat,
guilty as charged, and I was just like, wow, what a view. I said that. I said that a lot. I said that quite a bit.
We were so mad, and then I sat up there. I was like, this is gorgeous. It's beautiful. Really nice up here.
So there's a couple things, right? When you're steering the ship, I understand that this is a co-op game in the sense that, you know, it kind of forces you. Somebody has to steer. Somebody has to be in the crow's nest. Somebody has to be at the map. There was just so much to get from place to place, Phil. I don't want to necessarily say there needed to be a fast travel mechanic, but I kind of do. I really feel like it was only fun for so long. And then, you know, when we get to the ship fighting, the navigation of the ship is not that much fun. So when it came to combat, both in the ship with the cannons, and then also when you're on land, like very basic combat, nothing that is breaking the bank. There's no unique or crazy power scale or nothing like that. You've got a gun, you've got a sword, you turn your ship, you shoot your cannons. Like, nothing was really special. And I hate to compare it to this game because it's such a different game, but no game seems to be able to get pirating better than Assassin's Creed Black Flag. Like, Assassin's Creed Black Flag was a ton of fun. From my memory, if my memory serves me correctly, and specifically the combat with the ship was something I always remembered as a standout. And, you know, you've got your games like Skull and Bones, and you've got Sea of Thieves. Like, I just kind of assumed, I understood Skull and Bones was probably going to be shit. But Sea of Thieves, that's kind of like what you're going to be known for. Like, that's kind of your thing. And if it's not excellent, what are we doing here? And I think that's the most frustrating point that I came away from was your whole thing is sailing the open seas. And that part of it takes so long and is not that fun to the point where I'm literally on the ship, full on Titanic, enjoying the view. Like, just hold me.
Yeah, and from what I saw, like, a lot of people recommended that you do not man one of the 4-person ships to start off with. But that's how many people we had. And we figured the more people, the better, to kind of even out the experience and enjoy it, you know, to its full extent. So, also, not to mention, the very first island, again, the one where our ship was destroyed, not only did they destroy our ship, we could see them dive off, swim to shore to murder us. Like, they went out of their way after they could clearly see, because you can upgrade your ship to make it look different. Like, there aren't any upgrades that make you stronger. It's all cosmetic. So you can see that we have like a plain ship. There's no upgrades. The only thing we have is like we had like a custom flag, and that's because we got it for free for downloading the game. So you can tell that, like, oh, these are new players. Like, they don't have anything on them where they have standard guns. No, these guys jumped off their ship and then annihilated us from there. And that doesn't, and we haven't even gotten to the second night we tried to play. And it was those people that I think Jordan had to hop into the voice chat and say, hey, we're new. They hunted us down 3 or 4 times. And again, that is just not fun. And that's the point of PvE, PvP. I totally get it. But like, again, if you're going to treat new players that way, why the fuck am I going to play your game? You know, and it just doesn't seem very, and it's not very new player friendly. So I'm very curious to see how new players are receiving it. I did watch a content creator's video earlier today who jumped into it solo and had a very similar experience to us. They seemed to have a better time than we did, but they ran into a lot of the same things. One ship or 1 or 2 different teams jumping in and just making their life hell. So that's not something I want to be a part of. And it's like I said, huge bummer. Crime Boss Rocket City is the first game produced by In-Game Studios. It's a new developer of around 70 employees in the Czech Republic. Just so you guys know about Rocket City. Wanted to throw that in there.
You're not even trying, Phil. You're not even trying. I will say it's just really interesting for me because like we were really excited about the game. And one call out that I'll make is that about 3 months ago, Sea of Thieves was a topic on your friendly neighborhood gamers on their YouTube channel, and it literally was like, is it worth playing in 2024? And even with the issues, like I still thought it would be fun. And I'm gonna, I think we'll probably link that for this episode down below in the show notes, because I really think you guys should check out that video. It's a quick 9-minute video, get to see a little bit of the gameplay, get to hear a little bit about, is it worth playing in 2024? And I thought, Phil, like, again, because we play a lot of multiplayer, we'd have a ton of fun with it, and we would just make fun out of it. But again, it just was not fun. And I feel bad because, like, we were pretty sure about this episode. Like, we're finally going to do it. It just dropped on PlayStation. Let's get it done. And, here we are struggling to continue on in this episode. Like, genuinely, this is probably the first episode in a while where I just want to cut it here. Like, I don't know what else. I don't know what else we could possibly say because nothing's going to be positive. But I will say, if you enjoy the game, we'd love to hear your thoughts on it because, again, maybe it's your type of game, your type of style. Aesthetically, the game is fine. But again, nothing to write home about. Like, there just is nothing exceptional about this game, and maybe it's not supposed to be. But that's kind of what I was expecting in name. Sea of Thieves, I feel like, has built up or rebuilt their reputation after that launch to be something that, people want to check out. It just was a shame that didn't work out the way we thought it would.
And we kept seeing so many clips, like the viral stuff coming out of this game is hilarious. It's so good. It's so funny. And for every one moment where we felt like something organic happened that was a good time, it was overshadowed by 4 or 5 frustrating things, whether it be somebody chasing us down or a glitch or, like Eric said, just being a little boring when it comes to traversal. And listen, that's going to be appealing and is appealing to a certain audience, and it just wasn't for us. The only thing that can really compare it to, Eric, is like when we were playing Grand Theft Auto 5 a lot, and you had to go from one side of the huge map to the other. But what does Grand Theft Auto 5 have? It has, the fast travel. And I think maybe there should not be fast travel when it comes to let me get to, my destination to find the treasure or whatever, or to complete this mission. But like maybe fast travel back to port, to like, and charge us gold or something. You know what I mean? Like what game? Red Dead Redemption. That obviously Red Dead Redemption 2, massive map. You can go to posts around the map and pay to take a stagecoach, back to New Valentine or whatever. And maybe it could use something like that.
Yeah, so I was looking into it because I was curious. I was also checking out the comment section in your friendly neighborhood gamers video that I just mentioned. Apparently there is fast travel, but in looking for it, you have to unlock a captain ship, and each outpost should have a fast travel station. Captain! Each outpost should have a fast travel station, but the price increases depending on the distance traveled. We didn't see any of that, so I'm guessing that is something you unlock. Again, in our first few hours of gameplay, that was not something that remotely became an option, and by the end of our gameplay, we did not notice. So again, if it is something simple, this game didn't do a good job of explaining that, and I think that's one of my takeaways from it, is just not the most fun experience, maybe with the right people. I also feel, Phil, this is definitely a game that I don't feel is for us at this age. Like, I definitely felt aged out playing this. I think younger people would have a blast with this, especially a younger group like us. Like, when we were younger, I felt like we would have enjoyed this game. Current day us, not a thing. Like, it's just not fun. And that makes us sound like grumpy old men, but hey, we're over 20 minutes in now being grumpy old men, so just gonna own up to it at this point.
No, I was thinking that exact thing earlier in this episode as well, so I'm glad you brought it up. So, and obviously the player count is doing very, very well. I don't have it up here in front of me on Steam, but you know, the recent reviews are mostly positive. All reviews are very positive. And, you know, it's doing very well, and that's great. We want to see games like this, especially when they have a not-so-great launch. You love to see a developer just, you know, buckle in and fix what's wrong. You know, obviously we've seen that with Cyberpunk 2077, this, and, you know, some other games now that are doing very well. You know, for every Anthem or Evolve or whatever, you know, all of these games that have come out and, you know, they just get abandoned. It's nice to see a game like this be able to turn itself around and do very well. And it's going to continue to do well. You know, they're going to keep putting out content out there. But these are just the gripes we had as new players. So somebody's going to find this that's been playing this for 3 or 4 years and going to be like, oh, you just need to, like, try harder. You need to do this and you need to do that. Well, you know, we don't have time. Like Eric just mentioned, we're everybody that was playing is in their 30s or almost in their 30s. And we have to pick and choose what we commit our time to, and if it's not fun, why the hell would I do that? Again, to bring it back to Crime Boss Rocket City, which we're not going to do an episode about, so I'm just going to talk about it more right now. Jordan and I downloaded that game last night, played for like an hour and a half, had an absolute blast. Eric, I already sent the group chat a video of something stupid that happened in it. And you know what I did in Crime Boss? I did a tutorial. I picked multiplayer, I selected a mission, and we were in a game, and we were robbing a bank. And it's instant. It was just like that. It was crazy. With Sea of Thieves, we were like walking around an island, trying to figure out how to raise the anchor, what's it called, adjust the sails and all that shit, figure out how to read the map, because there's no mini-map, obviously, you're pirates. It's very realistic, quote-unquote. Within an hour, we had gotten sank 3 times and we're getting bullied, and we were just over it.
There was that one mission that I accidentally signed up for where we had to bring 10 baskets onto the boat, and to
That's
punish
when the
me,
ship got stuck.
Yep, and to punish me, Phil made me bring all 10 baskets to the boat by myself, which took a solid 10 minutes. And then we got the boat stuck and we couldn't do the mission. So that's a good example. Phil, you keep bringing up, Crime Boss. Not once have you brought up EA Sports College Football 25, which has been literally the game that's been eating up time, is the game we're going to talk about next month. And I know we are excited to have a conversation. We really wanted to get, we're going to get a ton. We already got, let's put it this way. We probably have double the hours of time we've spent on Sea of Thieves already on college football, and this episode's being recorded
in a night.
this episode's being recorded on the 21st, and the game just came out days ago. So that should really just tell you the difference. Much different games, but just the different experience of being able to jump into it and have a good time. And maybe that's more our speed. I'm throwing 70 picks every single game. And getting blown out by 30, but listen, that's more fun than playing Sea of Thieves.
You gotta run the ball, man. You gotta run the ball.
Listen, and getting blown out by 30, every single week, playing Road to Glory and just getting smashed as a 2-star recruit, still more fun than Sea of Thieves, and that's not how it should be. So I think on that note, Phil, we have collectively shit on this game more than enough. I think we can put it to bed, and it's just a disappointing chapter in our gaming history, but one that I think was inevitable, and I'm glad we at least got it over with. So there we go.
Crime Boss Rocket City is focused around missions undertaken by teams of 4 criminals. The player controls one of the criminals and cooperates with either other players or AI-controlled teammates to pull off heists in the first-person perspective. It's currently available for download on PlayStation Premium.
All right, stop. Because then you could have done Valorant too. Like you're doing. We haven't even played Crime Boss together.
I enjoy Valorant.
But to that point, I also have been enjoying Valorant enough to keep playing it. So that's another game example. But Phil, before you go on a rant about any other game, I'm just going to call it here. I'm not even going to ask you if there's anything else. I'm going to call it here. Sea of Thieves, guys. Go check it out. Form your own opinion. Not a recommendation from us, but we do acknowledge that there is a player base out there that can enjoy this game, and I think that audience is just not us. So, Phil, why don't you take us out to the rest of this episode, which is basically going to tell you guys and beg you to check out our other content that is not this one, which I feel, unfortunately, has been something we've been saying on several episodes. For context, I think we said this on Lego Ninjago as well. We kind of said that on Another Crab's Treasure. There have been a couple ones recently, and we are sorry about that. So, Phil, why don't you let them know where they could check out more content, and let's wrap this up. For the love of God, please.
Yeah, so there are several ways that missions are set up. The simplest option is a quick play one-off. There are 6 mini campaigns of 3 missions chained in a row. With let me just wrap. I guess I'll wrap this thing up. Crime Boss Rocket City is a lot of fun. You guys should try it out.
I literally almost just ended the recording.
Wikipedia has a dark mode now, just so you guys know. That was the switching from light to dark mode on the Sea of Thieves Wikipedia page was the most fun I've had with the game out of everything that we have done. So just to let you guys know, but. If you'd like to know what else we have done as a podcast, make sure you click the Linktree link in the show notes of this episode. You'll find a link to all the rest of our content and episodes. I find it interesting. I am going to call people out here, Eric. The Ultraman Rising episode has significantly less downloads than Lego Ninjago, and I don't know if that's because you guys haven't watched Ultraman yet, or you really like Lego Ninjago. Either one of those things is concerning, so please watch Ultraman and then listen to the Ultraman episode. We don't come on here begging for downloads, but that's just really upsetting to me, so I wanted to point that out. Also, make sure you follow us on social media, the most important ones being Instagram, TikTok, our growing Discord page, as well as Twitch, where we stream every Thursday night. Probably not this Thursday because Deadpool and Wolverine is coming out, and how dare you, Marvel, for revealing what you did the other day. I'll never forgive you for that. But I will forgive you for enjoying Sea of Thieves. You head on over to Apple Podcasts or Spotify and leave us a 5-star review, or head to YouTube and follow us, turn on alerts, all that stuff. It goes such a long, long way, and we truly appreciate it. So thank you guys for all of that. But if you find yourself maybe wanting more from the podcast, getting some behind-the-scenes stuff and special shout-outs, Eric will actually let you know how you can join a very special community.
Yeah, there are a ton of different ways you can support us that are completely free. You can even go to our Buzzsprout page and support us a little bit more if you're feeling generous. But if you want to take those funds and move them over to Patreon, we have a ton of exclusive perks in addition to that behind-the-scenes look with that pre-show and post-show for the episode. We also release episodes early on that platform. And in addition to that, we have a couple more things in the works. Thanks to our patrons, multiple patrons, surprisingly enough. Our classic Stefan and Pryor shout out, and new members this month, T3 Kato, and friend of the show, Corey, who was on our Creator Spotlight series recently. Super big shout out to those two joining us, and we're starting to grow a little bit of a community there, have some things in the work that we want to get going on there, maybe some exclusive polls, some things regarding impacts to episodes. So all that to say, be a part of that exclusive community, or just be a part of the community in general by giving us a like, comment, share, engage with us in any way, and of course, follow us across the board on all of those free platforms. It only takes a moment for you, and it means the world to us. My name is Mr. Eric Almighty. That is my co-host, Phil the Filipino. And please don't forget, we release new episodes every Wednesday on the podcast with bonus content on platforms like TikTok and Twitch. And all you got to do is wait for it. All right.
Crime Boss Rocket City received mixed or average reviews from critics for PC and Xbox Series S for the PS5 version.
Stop.
So, I heard you're looking for a go-to source for entertainment.
Wait for it.
Gaming?
Wait for it.
Anime?
Plus Ultra!
Mr. Eric Almighty and Phil the Filipino? Yeah, they've got you covered. And all you gotta do is wait for it. This is the Wait For It podcast.